Thank you, Karen, for the introduction. And I will be actually sharing my experiences using the Microsoft Teams in teaching chemistry classes at Centenary University. If you ask me actually my journey with the online learning, it started actually before the Corona. I was already exploring live lecture capabilities because last fall, one or two of my classes had to be canceled because of the snow day. And knowing that during the springtime, there will be actually more cancellation, I was actually looking live lecture capabilities. And I talked to our instructor technologist, and he told me that actually since we are using the Microsoft products, there is this app called Microsoft Teams that you can actually do some live lecturing. So before all this craziness actually happened, I was already working with the teams, and by March 11, my organic chemistry class roster has been already created on Teams. And whenever we were told to actually transition to remote learning, without a beat, my students were coming to my online synchronous live lecture. And as you can see from this graph, the attendance was great actually, more than 95%. Obviously, I was not doing any labs because we weren't really prepared for the labs. But for the labs, I was doing more like a recitation and sometimes actually sending them videos to watch it as well. So as you can see from my end, we went this craziness for about 7 weeks. Everything was going smoothly, and at the end of the semester, there comes to our student evaluation. And if you look at actually my course evaluation, it had extensive comments on the both side of the spectrum. And instead of actually showing every single student's feedback, I thought that actually it will be much nicer to show you a word cloud. And here is the word cloud that I get from the students. And so it wasn't really so much hard kind of like to connect the dots. So students were already saying that the content, organic chemistry, is already hard online. Not online, on ground. It's even harder to learn remotely, right? And it's very difficult. Even though they really appreciate all the efforts that we are doing, they were actually complaining about the material. So this is actually how I kind of like back to adaptation, right? So what I did first was I actually returned to my question and answer approach. I'm actually more like a traditional lecturer, and I use this question and answer approach all the time doing my on-ground, lectures. But I thought that since we are actually doing remotely, that's not going to be easy to implement it. But I found it actually it's not so much, right? So I actually ask students questions all the time. What do you think about this carbocation? Which intermediate is more stable? If they don't answer, I start actually picking up their names, right? What do you think about this, Jason? What do you think about this, Freddie? So that actually I can create more like a dialogue, right? Instead of like monologue, me talking all the time, I'm trying to kind of like, create an environment where everybody can jump in and, tell about their thinking. So that was the first thing that I did. And the second thing that I did was I actually started using the whiteboard and Viacom tablet. And initially, I was just using my iPad with Apple Pen and just sharing my PowerPoints, right? And that doesn't really allow me to actually use any extra space. But by using the whiteboard, I was able to actually draw these beautiful molecules. And organic chemistry is, at the end of the day, it's kind of like art too, right? You have to draw a lot of molecules. And while you are drawing, this molecule has to be like appealing. And so by using the whiteboard, you can actually draw like these colorful images. Not only that, the whiteboard has also some features where you can actually export, right, all of your notes, and you can actually post on the Teams right after your lecture. And if you want to, you can actually send them an email, right? So students, they don't have to worry about getting all the notes to their notebook, but they can actually have it right after the class. So what about the labs? In labs, in Centenary University, we gave students to actually an option to choose to attend the labs in person or online. And then I actually paired the remote ones with the on-ground students. And so the on-ground students acted like a teaching assistant. If I want to actually show you a picture here, they are doing actually a micro scale installation of tertiary butyl chloride. So the remote students are watching this, even though they are not doing it, right? The on-ground students are actually doing the lab and explaining them in a kind of like in a teaching assistant fashion. And also, on the Teams, there is this chat features. They can actually exchange all the data points. And in this case, they are actually sharing the IR spectrum of the tertiary butyl chloride. The other feature that I want to mention is the breakout chat feature allow early intervention. What I mean by that is, since, on the Microsoft Teams, as soon as you finish the call, right, the chat feature stays there. So students actually, even after the lab, right, couple days later, they can interact with each other. And as you can see on the right, I'm not sure if you can read it, but while they are talking about the lab, they have a question. I see these chats on my screen. I can actually intervene and give them answer right away. So at the end of the fall semester, I want to show you my word cloud again with the course evaluation. And as you can see, students are actually finding this very helpful. They are actually liking the material. And most importantly, they are talking about actually understanding the topics, understanding the content. And that's what most important thing. So if you ask me, what do I like most about the Microsoft Teams, is the first thing is, again, all the recorded content are accessible on the same platform. So unlike Zoom, you don't have to go to another website, right? You can actually, as you can see on the background, that's the platform. You can click the video and you can watch it right away. The second thing is it's great for collaboration, even outside of the classroom, right? Students can interact with each other, unlike the Zoom and other platforms. And when I start using the Microsoft Teams, unfortunately, the breakout rooms weren't available the way that we understand, just like in the Zooms. But finally, they had actually released the breakout room feature so that I can, and everybody can use it. And I heard that they are also working on the polls too, just like the way that you can do polls on Zoom call. So this might be, again, great feature if you are teaching a larger classroom. And on top of everything, all these products are actually free, right? If your school is using the Microsoft products, the Teams application is one of those products. So you don't have to pay an extra dime to use Microsoft Teams. So in closing, Microsoft Teams is a viable option. If you're coming an independent college like me, right? We cannot actually have all those in features. For instance, we don't have a Zoom cloud. So I have actually a colleague who is using Zoom for some reason, and he's teaching like 3-4 courses, and every lecture he has to record the lecture, and then actually he has to upload it to the learning management system. So again, if you're using the Microsoft Teams, it's really viable. You don't have to worry about all that. And the second thing that I want to mention here is, again, traditional lecture style can be blended with the technology. Sometimes whenever we are trying to adapt, we kind of like get rid of all the traditional lecturing techniques that we use. But I find that actually you can still implement those techniques, such as question and answer approach. And sometimes it can actually work much better than the polls, right? Because again, if you have a small college, if you have a small classroom, right, you are not going to be spending so much time to prepare the polls. Instead, you can just ask questions right away and kind of like get the snapshot of the whole classroom right away. So that's my closing. And thank you for listening. And here is my actually email address. If you have any questions or any concern or any feedbacks, I like to actually hear from you all. Thank you. Thank you for listening.